Hey friends, I'm Laura Malone and I'm obsessed with all things coaching. Self-coaching, life coaching, specific niche coaching, all of it. For 20 years, I've been a traveling, homeschooling, full-time ministering, multi-passionate mom who finally decided to take the dream of starting my own business off of that top shelf. I realized that what I'd been doing all my life was called coaching. Then I found out it could be both ministry to those around me and a business blessing. Now I'm sharing everything I've learned over the years as coach, entrepreneur, and imperfect human who's still in process. I'm inviting you to my table laid out with a feast of spirit-led strategies, tangible tools, growth God's way, and clarity about your callings in life. So get ready to become the hero in your own story and an amazing guide to others. And now, enjoy the show. Okay, welcome back. This is the Christian Life Coach Collective, and I'm Laura Malone, your host. This is going to be a two-part series with an overview today and an outline of the process and the actual tool I'm teaching you in the next episode. So today we're talking about time management and putting a system into place, why you need to, and a little bit about why you probably haven't done this yet. So, one thing I know is that when I have too much time and not enough to do, I don't really feel like I have time to do anything. Time just flows more difficultly and strangely and ethereally. I don't really know how to explain it, but I can see a lot of seasons of my life where that was kind of how I was operating. And I realize now after a lot of searching and learning about myself that when there's more to do and more deadlines around it, I get a lot more done. As an Enneagram 7, I thought for most of my life that I needed to just keep everything open and flexible and adaptable. Those are my strengths after all. And I don't really enjoy committing to things if I'm not sure that I'm going to really love when it has to happen, how it will happen, and if it's going to hinder something else that maybe I find out I want more, right? A little FOMO there. So it's not something that personally affects relationships for me since I'm a social subtype, but it does affect my achieving results and feeling satisfied and successful in any one thing. I never used milestones and I didn't care where I was or where I was going. So any road I took was going to get me there. AKA, that meant I wasn't getting anywhere. I was just gliding along and not really winning, right? And honestly, it was a decision that I made to start believing that I had something to offer in coaching and building a business that started getting me on track. I had to go through a huge mindset switch that took years to walk myself into, right? I went from recognizing that I was very flexible and adaptable and sleeping in, homeschooling, working when I was needed, leaving when I felt like it, movies on discount Tuesday afternoon when I felt like it. So I went from that to being busy every day because I actually had goals and things I wanted to do, podcasts I wanted to create, coaching I wanted to do. I actually even wanted to do marketing when I actually realized that if I don't communicate, marketing is communication. And if I don't communicate to you what I can help you with and how I can offer you transformation and results in your life, then you're not going to get it. Maybe you'll find it somewhere else, but you'll only find it because they're communicating and marketing and I'm not. And you might want what I have to offer and I might be able to get you better results than somebody else. If I don't communicate that, then I can't let you know. And when I realized that about marketing, I actually started wanting to market. I actually started setting goals around marketing because I defined marketing differently. I defined it as communication, right? And finding myself being busy, creating milestones and communication goals changed things because I changed my mindset. So now I'm rarely leaving home during the day from Monday to Thursday at least. I still believe in a 4 to a 4.5 day work week. So that's how I schedule my life, unless I still just feel like working on Friday or when I have big things around the corner that I need to work on Friday and sometimes on Saturday, that's okay. But once I felt like I was really moving towards something, I wanted to schedule things. I wanted to be organized, and I wanted to make commitments. I'm going to show you how to do this because some of you might be still having trouble getting things done and you need a clear path forward. And this is something I wish I'd had. So I tend to create things that I wish I'd had for myself, and that's what I want to do for you. Now, let's talk about something called I don't know. It might sound funny, but I don't know has been a blockade in our lives since the Garden of Eden, right? Eve was like, golly gee whiz, do you mean that there are things I don't know, but I could know it if I ate that juicy looking fruit? Juicy fruit? It wasn't an apple. It was juicy fruit. And I don't know keeps us from doing things. I don't know keeps us from loving people and taking action and reaping good fruit instead of rotten fruit. I don't know how means you haven't done it because how comes after the doing, not the before. I don't know what to do means you're not taking action and you're not letting yourself fail forward to figure it out so that you do know what to do. I don't know how long it will take means you're not in charge of your time. So what you want to do to all your I don't knows is add, yep, but take a step. So I don't know how yet, but I'm gonna take a step. I don't know what to do yet, but I'm gonna take a step. I don't know how long it'll take yet, but I'm gonna take a step, and it'll get figured out. You don't know until hindsight, okay? This shouldn't be new information if you're over the age of 7, when cognitive thinking starts to kick in. Okay. I encourage you to leave everything you know and have heard about time management on another document in your brain and open up a fresh blank one. I want you to experience a freedom in your time and in your brain. And the freedom in your time actually unlocks the freedom for your brain. And if any of what I tell you doesn't make sense or doesn't work for you in your brain, contextualize it, work with it, bend it around, move it around. You do you. I'm just creating a template to work from. That is the semper Gumby in me. And that's Latin for always flexible. So that little green guy, his name's Gumby because it's Latin for flexible. Okay? Now I want to tell you about something called Parkinson's Law. I may have talked about it in other episodes, but I talk about it a lot in my coaching consults and sessions. Parkinson's Law means and says that the work will expand to the amount of time you give it. Let me repeat that. Parkinson's Law is the work will expand to the amount of time you give it. And if you're not giving the work or the task or the project an amount of time, it will take all of the time. If you don't give it parameters and boundaries, it will take all of the time, and it will take too much time. Part of the struggle with giving boundaries to our time is that we haven't been intentional, committed people. We often live lives that are just navigated and directed by our bad fruit friends. And their names are FOMO, whim, urge, and blame. That's fun, right? So having more time, which some people think, blame says, if I only had more time. More time's not going to help you get anything done because as the saying goes, wherever you go, there you are. Well, whenever you go, there you are. Okay? Blaming your inefficiency or your lack of time or lack of planning is just not taking responsibility for yourself. It's not good self-leadership. It's giving the power of creating your own story away. It takes the pencil out of your pocket, and that's exactly where you need it. So you have control. You have the ability to make decisions for yourself. When you don't have the pencil that writes your own story, you're blaming others and the world and God for your problems, and then no one knows that they even have the power of the pencil that you gave them, right? And they don't care about it because they're too busy trying to wield their own power and use their own pencil. And if they did know that you gave them the power, they wouldn't even know how to use it well. You have to take responsibility and put the power of the pencil in your own pocket in order to create change in your life. If you want a legacy that's worth something, you have to lead yourself well. Time management is part of leading yourself well. It's part of becoming a hero in your own story. And becoming a secure and powerful person means having a strong relationship with yourself. It means good self-governing. It means letting the Spirit of God within you rise up to lead your soul and body. And your soul likes to be friends with FOMO, whim, urge, and blame. Your soul likes to have parties with them. So when you see yourself in relationship with yourself, and that relationship being something to respect and be intentional about, you begin to develop the ability to make good decisions and lead your life well and cut off the friends that are stealing from you. So let's go back to Parkinson's law, how the work that will expand to the amount of time you give it. I want you to think about a situation where you need to get something done, and I want you to differentiate the questions of how long is it going to take to do this versus how long will I give myself to do this? So instead of letting, whatever, anything external dictate how long it takes to do something, what if you became a powerful person in that decision and said, I will give that 15 minutes and then I will be done. And it creates a parameter for your brain to operate in. And most of the time, if it's a reasonable amount of time, 15 minutes to get that task done, you and your brain and your body are likely able to finish it. And when you give parameters, then because you've given it 15 minutes, that Parkinson's law kicks in that the work will only take 15 minutes. That task will take 15 minutes to do. If you say you have an hour to do it, it will take you an hour to do it. What the law is saying is that how much time it takes to do something is different than, it basically just different from how much time you will take to do it. So if it takes 15 minutes to cook that meal, then, and that's what the recipe says, then it will only take 15 minutes to cook it if you give yourself 15 minutes. If you tell yourself you have an hour to make that meal, then you will expand the amount of work you have to do to an hour-long meal preparation. That is a choice that you're making. Okay, that's a decision that your brain is saying, I will take an hour to do this, to make dinner. The recipe says that it doesn't take longer than 15 minutes to put that together and throw it on the grill and have it done. Okay, it is your choice. It took an hour to make dinner because that's how long you gave yourself to make dinner. Now, that is part of taking personal responsibility. You have to ask yourself, are you willing to do a task or a project at a subpar level just to get going? So for the things that you're in your mind, you're looking at it as, I must do it perfectly the first time so I never have to do it again, or I don't have to deal with the shame of it not being 100%, whatever your thing is. Can you bring your mind to a place where you accept a subpar level in order to take that first step and get going, take action? And there's a quote, it says, you don't have to be great to get started, but you do have to get started to be great. I think it's Les Brown, this guy that said it. And I just remind myself of that. I might not be completely ready to record this episode, but if I start, I can finish and edit and improve upon this episode, but if I never start, this episode has no chance of ever being good or great. Okay? Do you expect yourself to do something perfectly and fully without exception? That is always going to hold you back. And if you choose to live that way with perfection in mind, are you even capable of it? And does that kind of thinking keep you from, kind of extracting things from your brain? All of the things that need to get done, putting it out there so that it can get a committed decision from you to do it and a place, its ownership of a place on the calendar. Is the perfectionism thinking keeping you from actually getting things done? And there's a difference also between giving too much and then giving yourself grace. So sometimes we call it grace, but we're really just allowing ourselves to not be boundaried around our time or to procrastinate, or we're choosing to not respect ourselves. So remember that when you're giving yourself parameters and boundaries, if you set a boundary and a plan or a deadline or whatever on the calendar and in your planning process, you could give yourself too much grace that actually never holds yourself accountable. So be careful and aware if that is you that I'm talking about. It tends to be me, and so I can speak to it directly. Let's talk about if you need to clean your bedroom. You could give yourself a 20-minute time block, or you could give yourself an hour. The Parkinson's law is going to apply, so it's either going to take you 20 minutes to clean it or 60 minutes to do the same amount of work. Now, again, we're being reasonable. If, I have to move the bed into a different place in the bedroom, that's not a 20-minute ordeal. You can tell yourself somewhere like a compromise, give yourself 40 minutes and tell yourself, I'd like to work fast enough to get that done in 20 minutes and use the extra 20 minutes to do the bathroom. Well, if you have to give yourself more time to make yourself feel better, then plan what you're going to do with extra time if you finish sooner. And plan to try to finish sooner. Even challenge yourself. Give yourself a reward if you finish in 20 minutes or 30 instead of 40. Part of this exercise is about using your allotted time to actually do what you need and stay focused on what needs to be done, and don't go shaving a yak on a hamster wheel, and not doing it with a perfection mindset or a rabbit trail mindset. So just as an example of how to avoid rabbit chasing, at the end of my outline here, I have typed things that the outline for my episode. While I was writing out the outline, things would come up in my mind, right? Instead of leaving my document and my outline to go to my text messages or to my notes app or to my to-do list, I just at the very bottom of this document have a random space that says text Tara and check specific messages in my email. This way I can keep going with the outline because I've given myself 10 minutes to finish this outline. Okay, so I have a record of the thoughts that keep coming up in my mind while I'm on task, but instead of fearing that I'm going to lose them and not remember, because that's pretty normal for me, I'm not leaving this document to go do anything else, but I simply just write it in the middle of my document, okay, at the end of my document. And later on, when I'm done with the 10 minutes I've given myself to create this outline, I will go put those things in the appropriate places. I will either do it right now, or I will put it on a list, which I'll explain later. I'll put it on my little list of things to do, okay? Now, and the shaving a yak on a hamster wheel, that is another episode we'll get to. You have to determine what really needs to be done to make your bedroom clean to your specifications, what you're expecting and wanting today. Then you're going to think about how much time is that really going to take to do those things. Okay, I want to make the bed. I'm going to dust off the side tables. I want to get a little Windex done on the mirrors and the 2 windows. I'm, going to organize the stuff that's just gotten thrown on top of the dresser. And yeah, that's the kind of clean I'm looking for today. How long is that going to take me? It should not take me more than 20 minutes to do those things, as long as I don't get off track and chase a rabbit when I start organizing the things that are on top of the dresser. I'm going to simply organize those things. I'm not going to start organizing the file box that I open up when I put that piece of paper into the file box. I'm not organizing a file box today. I'm cleaning my bedroom, okay? So I have to be aware of what it means to clean this bedroom, what it does not mean to have a clean bedroom. Then you're going to, like when something comes up that you want to add to the cleaning, like organizing the drawer of odd things, you're going to put that on a Post-it note, and you're going to make it another task for another day. You're going to stay on track and make those tasks separate. And, you can write out a list of what you can get done in 20 minutes and just check things off on the list if you need the list. And then go do the bathroom in 20 minutes as well. If you have another 20 minutes, because you really did have an hour to give it, then that can be done, that now you can vacuum the bedroom and the bathroom or sweep. You might even be able to mop the bathroom. You could do some dusting, right? Then you're going to have done more in 1 hour than you could have done if you'd only given yourself 60 minutes to just clean your room. It's really just a thought process we're going through here. Now, make sure you don't plan to do more than what you really can, or that's going to work against you and make you feel like you've failed. You didn't succeed, and you're going to tell yourself that you just can't do it, or you'll talk yourself out of believing that planning really works. It does, but you have to practice it to learn it, just like anything else. Now, you need your mind to say, I only have this amount of time, 20 minutes, so it has to happen in that time block. There are no time for distractions. Decide that what you're going to say if you're interrupted. Put your phone on silent. Choose to not answer the phone or text messages until you've got time to talk. This isn't when you have time to get on social media or look up dinner recipes on Pinterest, okay? It also isn't time to work. It's not time to create content. It's not, right now you're cleaning your bedroom. That is the focus. Learn focus, learn decision making, and learn to commit to yourself and honor the decisions you've made. Also decide what helps you and what hinders you when you're on task. So music might help somebody when they're doing one thing, but not when they're doing a different kind of thing. So if maybe music helps you while you're cooking dinner, but it doesn't help you get the laundry done faster because you start dancing instead of folding. Okay, whatever it is. And somebody else might be able to listen to music all day long in the background and be really productive, while I get distracted by certain types of music or repetitive beats and things like that. They make me crazy. And now I don't even know what's going on and what I'm supposed to be doing, because that background music can really it steals part of my brain. It makes me lose my focus. And maybe a podcast can help you if you're doing something physical and it engages your brain, but not if your podcast is teaching you something you want to take notes on, which makes you stop the exercise you're doing every 2 minutes so you can write something down. Okay, that's not helpful. But, for me, watching a TV show on my iPad helps me to listen to something while I'm cleaning. It engages one side of my brain while the other side does the mundane stuff. But I can't get through a grocery store in 10 minutes if I'm talking to somebody or listening to an audiobook and I just don't have a clear, organized list of what I'm there to buy. So knowing what helps you when you're on task and what hinders you personally when you're on task is really important, so you can make productive time actually productive. And you might need gentle pressure. And don't get too harsh with yourself about boundaries and time frames. Deal with yourself compassionately, but challenge yourself as far as you know that you really need it. And if you don't know how to do this because you've never seen it exemplified or your family culture growing up taught you the opposite, I encourage you to pursue growth in this area. Research self-compassion and learn about challenging yourself and growing with kindness toward yourself. Now, brain dumps are super important. And when you dump everything out of your brain, it can feel really overwhelming, might cause anxiety or maybe make you feel hopeless. But process it all in a format that helps you to prioritize and offer grace to yourself. Remind yourself that a flow of life is necessary, especially if you're like a parent or a caretaker, you have a couple of jobs. There's just so much going on in our lives now. One of the hardest parts for me has been when the constant changing needs of the people in my home, and the fact that I've worked from home for 15 years as a homeschooling mother alongside my husband, who's always at home. That's just created constant challenges and a lot of hopelessness for me, because every time that I would think that I was going to get something done, somebody would cry or need a diaper change or need help or need to be driven somewhere or need a question answered. And just when I thought I had a moment to figure out my own problem, 2 other people would have louder problems, and the louder problems would win my attention. And then I would forget what I was even doing. How can you let people know when you're available and when you're not? Of course, in small, just like seasons of small children in life, it's hard to do, but you can get more organized and intentional with your time when they're napping or out, at grandma's house, something like that. And teaching them that mama needs time gives them a growth habit that's going to help them in the future as adults to create their own boundaries and recognize how to communicate their needs. For me, I had to start teaching my husband and children that I wasn't available 24/7 anymore because I had now had a business. And they would see me spending a lot of time in my business, not actually talking to clients, but creating content and doing things on my computer and responding via emails. And they didn't see that as work. So I started having to lock the door and put post-it notes saying, I'm working, I'm not available right now. And that was actually really hard for me as a mom and as a wife, because I wanted to keep giving myself to them, but I was creating my own self-sabotaging resentment because they weren't keeping boundaries that I had not clearly set or communicated. So it was still on me, and I had to take responsibility for it. But you can learn to do this no matter what your situation is. And when you tell yourself, I don't want to do the thing I committed to that I put on the calendar that's on the to-do list, I don't feel like it, you can realize now that if you had an appointment that you didn't want to go to, but you told somebody you'd be there, then you would likely show up because you told somebody else. There's an external expectation driving you. But when you don't honor and respect yourself and your internal expectations, and you choose to not show up for you, that decision is moved, or like your current FOMO, whim, and urge, your friends, your bad fruit friends, they show up because they want something else. And then you let that usurp the decision that you made for yourself when you were wisely making decisions about what to put on the calendar and when to put it. And the calendar is a place where you write down commitment to action. And you have to start seeing it as that. It's going to change your life when you see that the calendar is a commitment to action space, okay? And if you think you can give up on yourself, when you start changing your mind about the priority of something or the need for it or the desire you felt on Monday you don't feel on Friday, you discount that Monday morning you mattered. She might not be talking to you right now, but the calendar is like a journal of her decisions. And you have to respect what Monday morning you is telling you right now. If you tell yourself you don't have time to make a plan, refer yourself back to the quote, if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. So basically, if you just get in the car and start driving with no real destination, you don't even know what to put into the map on your phone so you can find the most effective route to get there. You're simply just taking a risk at each crossroad and choosing left, right, or straight. It's just what's that game of roulette, pick one, something, you might need to know that you in general need to go to the grocery store, the UPS store, Home Depot, and Target, okay? But if you don't make a plan so that you can lay out the best route to get to all of those places in the most efficient time, then you might end up at Target, which is to the east of home, and the grocery store down the street from it. And then Home Depot is 30 minutes in the opposite direction of home. And then you get there only to realize you didn't have like the correct measurements from home that you need. And the UPS, it's on the south side of home. And now your groceries, they're sitting in the car melting because you didn't bring a cooler bag because you weren't really sure if you were going grocery shopping or not. And the chocolate for tomorrow's meeting that you bought at Target on a whim, that's melting in the heat. And, you still have to come back out to Home Depot after you go home for the measurement. And at that point, I sure hope that you're not like me and that you do remember to take the shopping bags out when you get home before going back out to Home Depot with that chocolate, because the heat index today is 106 degrees. Okay, why wouldn't you take 10 minutes to decide what you need to do today? Let's say it's a Saturday and those are your tasks. Think about which direction you need to start out going. It makes sense to go to the grocery store last, and it makes sense to buy that chocolate at the grocery store, not at Target. And it makes sense to know what you need to do and have a list for what you need to buy at the store, so you're not shopping off the list, because women love to go to the grocery store with you. And this 10 minutes could ultimately save you 2 hours in the long run. It's the same with this thinking about making a plan for your day and your week and your business. It's also really associated, time management and planning is really associated with knowing your true goals. If you don't have true goals, but instead you're being led around by false goals, but you think it works because you have a goal in mind, then you're going to be highly disappointed when you get to the end of the day and you feel no success or satisfaction. And if you don't have true goals set, then you'll keep chasing kites and they're going to keep getting stuck in the trees. So if you make plans to do things that aren't your true goals, you're wasting a lot of time. So here's an example of a true goal and a false goal. If you say you want a deeper connection with the Lord, you're going to need to spend time with him. If you are not spending time with him on purpose, then connection is not your true goal. And maybe sleeping in is your true goal, okay? Because if you're not getting up to spend time with the Lord, then connection with him is not your true goal. Your true goal is evidenced by the things that you take action on. If the action that you take is staying in bed, then that is your true goal. And your false goal that you keep locked up in your brain says that your goal is to have more connection and time with the Lord. But because you never take action towards that goal, it's a false goal. And you have to recognize the difference between these two things because it's affecting your time. It's affecting your results. It's affecting the satisfaction and success that you experience in life. And if you deeply want transformation and you deeply want growth, you have to address these things. And you have to learn the skill of time management. So here's the deal. You now have kind of my overview of why time management and planning is important in our lives, the kind of effects and fruit and things that work against us. That's what this episode is about. The next episode, number 37, is going to be me laying out my time management process for you. I'm going to give you a downloadable resource that'll be in the show notes of episode number 37. So if you're listening to this and 37's already out, then you can binge these two. I know this one's a little bit long, and it's going to be really beneficial in your life if you want to grow, and especially if you want to become a coach and run your own business, you're going to have to learn how to manage your time, how to have a planning process in place, and how to get all that stuff out of your head, because you're going to add being a coach on top of adding becoming an entrepreneur onto all of the other things in your life, running your house and taking care of your family and working that other job and all the things you do at church and all the expectations, not to mention the things you just want to have for yourself. You're adding more things when you add a business and coaching and clients and then content creation and package creation, tool creation. You need this in place so you can thrive instead of just surviving and trying to keep your head above the water and duct taping everything together. So let's get this going in your life now so you can see great fruit later. And I'll talk to you in the next episode. Are you ready to become a hero in your own story by investing in yourself through life coaching? Are you looking to become an amazing guide to others by becoming a coach or up-leveling your current practice? Then check out sterlingandstonementoring.com to see how we can work together. And don't forget, it's really easy to say thanks if any of this free content has been a blessing to you just by leaving a quick written review over on Apple Podcasts. And thank you in advance.